She comes out the shower and she's checking her guns. She's packing a go bag. And as she's packing her go bag, bullets start raining through the windows. She grabs the bag, hits the ground, and starts crawling around. And she's like, what the fuck? How did they figure out where I was? How did they know? And so the whole place is getting shot up. She crawls towards the back. She makes it out the back door. When she gets out the back door, there's a soldier out there waiting on her. She fights with him, disarms him, tossing his gun to the side. She goes to take his sidearm to shoot him. When she takes his sidearm, another soldier shows up and shoots his assault rifle at her.
Dynamic entrance kicking in the door like that. Turn up to the max, shooting energy up to the sky. Tap into the station 935, it's time to rock. Swooshy color backgrounds just to let you know we fly. Undefeated, never beaten, cause we got the skills. Striking all this black gold, you would think we had a drill. We got what you need, homie, so come and get your fill. Relax and unwind, it's time to anime and chill. It's time to anime and chill. Relax and unwind, it's time to anime and chill.
Awesome. You are now tuned in to Anime and Chill, and you are chilling with your favorite N-word, the biggest anime nerd. I can say it. You can't though. So, what a couple of weeks it has been. As you can see, we got a new banner. So, yeah, man, radio station got their banner up. ATLX is the new name for the station. So y'all go ahead on the app, check that out. You got a whole lot of things coming. You got hotels, bars and beyond, hip hop next. You know what I mean? You name it, they got it. So go ahead and check them out. But today we are going to do, well, before I get into it, as you can see, I don't have my shield, my sunglasses. I forgot to grab them on the way up to the studio. But, I guess you could say today, Kazi J is filling in for Young Retro, even though it's the same goddamn person. But, moving on. Today, I would like to talk about, well, today I want to do last minute rewrites. We're going to do last minute rewrites for Black Widow. Now, before I came up here, I rewatched Black Widow, and what I noticed, well, not so much what I noticed, it's a lot of things I noticed. But, that movie, Black Widow, the Black Widow movie, isn't really about the character of Black Widow. It's about everybody else around Black Widow. You see what I mean? So, today, what we're going to do is we're going to give Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow the movie that she deserves. Now, a little bit of context and backstory. In the original movie, what it was about, it was supposed to be about Black Widow, or Natasha Romanoff, being on the run from the government. Which, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good enough plot. but they didn't really shoot it like a spy thriller. It was like they wanted to make it a spy thriller, but then halfway through they went, but it's a superhero property, so at some point she's got to do something superhero-y, and it just got muddled. Then they tried to crowbar in the espionage angle, and it wasn't working. It really wasn't. Now, I've seen critics kind of go hard on some of the characters in their accents, namely the guy playing Dreykov. Like, his accent went anywhere from Cuban to Russian to German. Like, you couldn't pin down what accent he was trying to put forth. But what I will say is the whole plot of Natasha and like on the run from the U.S. government after Captain America Civil War, that it sounds interesting, but they did nothing with it because it was no longer the government chasing her. Now it was Taskmaster chasing her. So we didn't get the espionage thriller that we were promised. We got this half-ass superhero movie in which they bait and switched us. Because as anyone would know, Taskmaster is a male character. The stunt person that did all of the stunts for Taskmaster was a man. You could clearly see it was a man. Even though the person was wearing a helmet, if you look at the build and the way the person moves, that's a man. Because even with a woman trying to move kind of manly, they still have, I want to say, more of a flow with their movements. Their movements are more fluid. Whereas a man, when a man gets to moving like that, his movements kind of seem robotic and stiff. Which, that's what it was. And so the first fight they did with Natasha and Taskmaster on the bridge, that was the only real fight that they had. Because once they revealed that Taskmaster was a woman, then it became, oh, we can't have the ladies fighting against each other. Women must uplift each other and this, that, and the third. Totally forgetting that Natasha Romanoff blew up. Yeah, that's right. She blew up Dreykov's daughter. So technically, she attempted to kill Dreykov's daughter when she was a little girl. Now, regardless of Dreykov using his own daughter as a super soldier, she should have already had in her mind, I'm going to kill Natasha Romanoff. Because that's who tried to kill me. Fuck everything else. Fuck this whole, Dreykov is controlling the widows with a chemical, what do they call it? Chemical subjugation. So, I said all of that to say this. We were promised this big superhero-y fight between Black Widow and Taskmaster, only to get a bait and switch. First on the fact that Taskmaster was not a man, she was a woman, which, why did we have to do that? Secondly, we never got the one-on-one straight fight between Taskmaster and Black Widow. We did get a little bit of that fight, as I said, towards the early part of the movie with Taskmaster coming after her, but Taskmaster wasn't really after Natasha. Taskmaster was after the liquid gas, pretty much the antidote to Dreykov's drug, which Natalia's sister sent to her after being exposed to the antidote herself. Like I said, So the whole movie was pretty much about Natasha's family coming together to fight off Dreykov. But throughout the whole movie, they keep mentioning how she's an Avenger, she's an Avenger, she's an Avenger. But then they don't give her an Avenger style movie. Like, they don't give her origin story or anything like that. Like, there's so many ways you could have took the Black Widow movie that they didn't go. Like I said, they could have did an origin story. They could have focused on the mission in Budapest. The whole mission that involved her trying to kill Dreykov, blowing up his daughter. They hinted at that mission in the movie, but they didn't really go in depth. They used it as like a one-off, just to kind of like, oh, this is how she killed Dreykov's daughter. Like, okay, that seems more interesting than what's going on in the story. Why don't we get a whole story leading up to her blowing up, you know what I'm saying, Dreykov's daughter or what have you? I digress. That's why I'm here. I'm here to give you a better Black Widow movie than Marvel and Disney gave you, because that was it was a long time coming and they still managed to fuck it up. And then don't get me started on how they released Black Widow in the theater and on Disney Plus at the same damn time. And she didn't get near, that movie didn't make nearly as much as they thought it would, because they ran it on streaming services and in the theater. So if people can choose, hey, do I want to go to the theater and pay $25 for a ticket, pay $12 for a ticket, and then about $5 or $10 for concessions, equaling up to $25 to go see this movie in the theater? Or do I just want to pay? I think they might have charged like $30 on Disney Plus because they made it a premium movie, like what they tried to do with Mulan, and you saw what happened with Mulan. But no. So yeah, she didn't get nearly as much. That movie didn't make nearly as much as it should have, is what I'm saying. And between that, the bait and switch, the whole thing about you call it Black Widow, but it's about everybody else other than Black Widow. I will say this. Shout out to Florence Pugh. She made that movie watchable. Okay, because outside of that, it was almost like Scarlett Johansson knew, okay, this movie really ain't about me. Because we've seen her in all the other Avengers movies and she's great. In this one, it was almost like whoever directed her didn't really know how to direct her. And so she was kind of walking aimlessly through the movie. Like, I guess this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But so I give you last minute rewrites for Black Widow. First off, what we're gonna do is we're scrapping the original. Like, throw that shit in the trash. That's done. That's done. we are gonna do this right. We're gonna open the movie with the Budapest incident. Right? We're gonna set it in 2002 because the Avengers came out in 2012, and the way her and Hawkeye were talking during the fight in New York, like, hey, this reminds me of Budapest all over again. And he's like, you and I remember Budapest very differently. Well, I want to let's show that. Let's show that. And what we can do is we can start off with Natasha, Clint in the Situation Room. And they're talking to someone. You don't know who they're talking to yet. But Clint is sitting on the opposite side of the table from her. And he's asking her, he's like, look, are you sure that this is what you want to do? There's no going back. Once you defect, there's no going back. And she's like, yes, I'm fully aware of what I'm about to do, and I'm ready. And so he says, okay, in order for us to bring down the Red Room, we need to kill General Dreykov. And so that's when Natasha gives him all of the intel that she has on the Red Room and on Dreykov, and says, the only way I see to do it is we need to get him when he's in his office. And she's like, I can set a small charge that'll take out his office. And that's when we see Nick Fury put his hands on the table and go, no, 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 no. We are going to do this differently than that. It must look like an accident. It can't look like a hit. Otherwise, people are going to look into it. So, they set it up to where Natasha is supposed to lure Dreykov into his office. And Clint is supposed to snipe him from a post somewhere not too far. And so we get a cut to Natasha walking down the street in Budapest. And on comms, we hear Clint, ETA. And she's like, I'm about 2 minutes out. Walking. She gets to a building. She goes inside. She goes upstairs. She doesn't see anybody. She calls Dreykov and tells him, I'm out. And he's like, what do you mean you're out? And she's like, I'm done. The Red Room, the assassinations, everything. I'm done. I'm going to the Americans, and I'm going to let them know everything that you have us doing. I'm going to tell them everything. And so Dreykov tells Natasha, stay where you are. This is where it gets tricky. We see a man getting out of a car. We don't see his face. We see the car door open. We see the feet step out. The camera tracks him from his knees down. So all we see is the man walking in. He goes inside, goes upstairs. He gets to the office. Natasha is no longer there. Natasha is back outside on the street. She tells Clint, you're green, you're green, you're green. He says, all right, cool. He shoots an arrow he takes out the man that walked upstairs only to find out it wasn't Dreykov. Because when the man turns around and catches the arrow to the chest, that's when Hawkeye sees his face. And Hawkeye goes, shit, we messed up, abort, abort, abort. Hawkeye breaks his shit down, he starts taking off. Natasha's like, what do you mean we messed up? What do you mean? We didn't mess up. He was there. He was there. And then you hear Clint tell Natasha, that wasn't Dreykov. And so she's like, no, he's there. I know he's there. And so she hits a button on a detonator that she has. The whole office, boom, explodes. She makes it back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. compound. She meets up with Hawkeye. Hawkeye says, you know what? You don't listen. When I tell you to abort, that means abort. You don't know what you did. And so that's when Natasha's like, no, I made sure that Dreykov wouldn't leave. And that's when Barton shows her security footage from outside of the building that shows the man that walked in was not Dreykov. And she goes, wait a minute. That's not. And Clint is like, yeah, that's why I told you to abort. Then he flips the tablet around. He hits a couple of keys on the tablet. And then he flips it back and shows her the news report that says a young girl was in the office when it blew up and she died. Later find out that's Dreykov's daughter. The news reports it as Dreykov's daughter. And that's when Natasha sits back and goes, fuck. Then we cut to the title screen. So the next scene, we jump ahead to after Civil War. To after Captain America Civil War, when General Ross is trying to catch her. Kind of how they had at the beginning of the actual Black Widow movie. Only thing is, I'm not gonna forego it after the first 5 minutes, which is what they did. Pardon. She evaded them once, and then the rest of the movie, they never showed back up. Not in this movie. In this movie, we're gonna start with her in the bathroom on the boat. Matter of fact, we'll keep that same thing. The opener they had right after the opening credits in the actual movie, where they think they have her cornered at like a train station. And they got the building surrounded, and Ross is on the phone with her telling her, yeah, just turn yourself in. We already caught Clint. We caught the Falcon. Sam Wilson. I always forget Sam Wilson's name. We caught Clint Barton, Sam Wilson. Then he goes, the guy that gets real tiny. We caught him, and we're still looking for Captain Rogers. He said, turn yourself in, and the punishment will be lenient. And she's like, yeah, right. You either you're stupid or you think I am if you expect me to believe that line. And he's like, okay, but at least you will still be alive. If you continue to run from us, we will have no choice but to shoot on sight. You assaulted the king of Wakanda. You attacked him. What did you think was gonna happen? And she's like, yeah, well, I'm not turning myself in, so General, do what you gotta do. That's when we see them rush into the building, spreading out, hitting every little nook and cranny of the train station. They finally find the bathroom where they think she is, only to find a phone next to a phone from where she's like piggybacking. She's piggybacking the signal. So the soldiers come back out with both phones and they say, "Sir, she was never even here." General Ross gets pissed off. He's like, "All right, find her. Find her now. We cannot let Natasha Romanoff get away." So, we have maybe a scene where, like in Captain America, in Captain America Winter Soldier, where her and Cap was actually being chased by the government. You have her go to either like a library or something, and what she's trying to do is she's trying to figure out how Clint and Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, and the Falcon, how all of them got captured, and she's looking up the news report or everything like that, and then she sees where it says Captain America wanted, on the run, Natasha Romanoff wanted, on the run. And so as she's doing that, you see I want to say agents, like FBI agents or some kind of federal agents, come walk into the library, and they're showing their credentials to the librarian. Meanwhile, Natasha is sitting in a disguise. She's wearing like a blonde wig, a pair of glasses, maybe she's wearing a coat. And when she sees the agents come in and start flashing their badges around, she slowly gets up from the computer. She grabs a book and starts walking like she's reading. But the whole time she's scanning the room looking for an exit. As she gets close to an exit, somebody grabs her shoulder. And when they grab her shoulder, she grabs their hand and kind of breaks their arm and goes into this whole action sequence of trying to fend this guy off. Only thing, it wasn't an agent. It was somebody trying to ask her where she found the book. But when she breaks the guy's arm and he screams, that draws attention to her. And so she gives him the book and she runs out the back. When she runs out the back, she snatches her hat off, or not so much her hat. She snatches the wig off, snatches the glasses off, takes the coat, turns it inside out, grabs an old baseball hat, puts the hat on her head and walks off. She walks into a crowd of people, disappearing into the crowd. General Ross and a couple of his men come running out the back of the library, and they're like, "Damn it, we almost had her. She was right there." And General Ross is like, "How did y'all not find her?" He's getting more and more angry and pissed off. He's like, "Damn it, we need to catch this woman." Next thing we see her on a bus. And when she gets on the bus, the first thing she does, she pickpockets some guy's phone. He's got his cell phone in his back pocket like a fucking noob. She walks past, bumps into him. "Oh, I'm so sorry." Takes his goddamn phone. Well, no, not a guy. Let's make it a girl, because I don't think guys put their phones in their back pockets. That is some dumb shit. Like, then you wonder why you be butt dialing people. But I digress. I've seen girls, women, keep their phones in their back pockets. So let's say it's a young lady Natasha bumps into her, snatches the phone. Oh, I'm so sorry, miss. I didn't mean to. Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. She goes and sits all the way in the back of the bus. Now, she's using this phone, and she's trying to figure out where Cap is. But there's no news feed on where he went. The last thing she saw of him was him getting on the Quinjet with Bucky and flying away. So, she can't find nothing on him. She starts trying to look up her mother, Melina. And so she's seeing what happened to her, only to find out Melina is still with the Red Room. On paper, technically, Melina runs it. On paper. But the actual person pulling the strings is Dreykov. Now, the reason for this is the government is allowing Dreykov to continue his experiments with the Black Widows. Because eventually they're going to want him to use it not only on young women, but on soldiers, like full-on soldiers. That way the military doesn't have to deal with people, that they don't have to deal with the free will of the soldiers. They don't have to worry about soldiers, quote unquote, thinking for themselves. Because once you can fully control a person, like through the
Chemical subjugation.
Natasha falls asleep on the bus, right? And while she's on the bus, she has a flashback. The first flashback is the day that she got sent to the Red Room. Kind of what they did with Age of Ultron. But that was really more of a nightmare sequence than a memory. So in this one, we want to have a flashback. And in the flashback, we're not going to focus so much on like the actual first day she got there, this, that, and the third. We're going to focus on the training they had her doing. Now, in this scene, they have Natasha blindfolded. Natasha and one other person, another young lady. They're both blindfolded, and they both have like these wooden poles. And they're meant to be fighting with these, sparring with these wooden poles. And so Natasha is just a wee bit better than the other young lady. And she keeps getting the upper hand. And every time she does, the other young lady gets pissed off. And when she beats her and the handlers say, okay, that's enough, the other young lady looks up, snatches her blindfold off, and she storms off. Natasha pulls her blindfold off and is looking around like, hey, what happened? Where'd she go? Natasha walks in the room where Yelena is. Yelena is packing a bag. Natasha is like, what are you doing? Yelena is like, I had enough of this. I'm going. I'm out of here. And Natasha's like, you know they won't let us go. And she's like, yeah, well, watch me. And so Natasha and Yelena kind of have a little argument. Natasha's like, we can't leave. We can't just up and leave. This is our jobs. We have to do this. And Yelena's like, yeah, well, I don't want to. This is not what I want to do. And besides, they don't need us. They have you. You're their golden ticket. You're their greatest accomplishment. She's like, what do they need me for? And then Natasha says, they don't. But I do. You're my sister. I love you. And Yelena goes, we were never really sisters. And she kind of brushes past her and goes to walk off. When she brushes past Natasha and walks off, somebody taps Natasha on the shoulder. She wakes up and it's the bus driver. And he's like, ma'am, this is the final stop. You have to get off. And she's like, yeah, okay. So she gets off the bus. She looks around. Now she's in, let's say, Washington, D.C. Right? Because when you're looking for a fugitive, the best place for the fugitive to be is right up under your nose. Because that's the one place you'll never look. You searching the whole world to find her. She's right there up under your nose. So now we have her go to like one of the Shield safe houses. We're not gonna put it in Budapest like they did in the original movie. I think that was too on the nose. Nah, but what we are gonna do is we're gonna have her go to a safe house that Barton showed her. Right? And she gets there, she takes a shower. While she's in the shower, she's having another flashback. This time the flashback is not of Yelena. It's about the mission that Barton was sent to kill her. So, in this flashback, she's, let's put it not in Budapest, because it's so over touted in this movie and in her story. But I want Budapest to be its own thing. You see what I mean? So we could have her in, let's say, Hong Kong. There you go. She's in Hong Kong. She was there for a mission, and she was there for a mission on orders by Dreykov. Barton is there as Ronin. Barton is there as Ronin to take out Natasha Romanoff. They didn't tell him it was a woman. They didn't tell him. They didn't give Barton a name. The only thing they gave him was the code name, Black Widow. They're an assassin, this, that, and the third. So, Barton's whole thing is he's gonna follow Natasha's target. So for a minute, you start to think that Barton is targeting this other person, that they're the target that Barton is looking for. But then you see Natasha, and she's in disguise. She's wearing a wig, maybe some contacts, clothes that she doesn't normally wear, and she's trying to be inconspicuous. And so, right as she's about to kill off her target, she pulls the gun and she says, in Russian, she says to the person, General Dreykov sends his regards. And right before she pulls the trigger, an arrow hits the gun, knocking it out of her hands and across the street. That's when the target's security team surround this person and they take the person away. Natasha looks up, and when she sees Barton, she takes off running. So now you've got Ronan chasing Natasha Romanoff throughout Hong Kong. And she's trying to avoid him, this, that, and the third. He finally catches up to her. He shoots an arrow that kind of detonates. They call it a bolo. It's 2 balls on a rope that when you throw it, it'll wrap a person up. He shoots that out, wrapping up her legs. That trips her. The time it takes her to cut the rope, she goes to get up. Barton's already there in front of her. He pulls his sword on her and he puts it in front of her. And then she looks up, and that's when he notices how young she is. Let's say she's about 19, 20, 21. Barton looks and goes, "You're an assassin?" Natasha says something to him in Russian. She says something like, "No, I'm just a kid, I'm just a kid. You got the wrong person." And then on comms, you hear Fury say, "Take the shot." And Barton just looks at her. And again, you hear Fury, "Barton, finish the job. Barton, do you copy?" Barton pulls the earpiece out of his ear, throws it. He looks down at her. "What's your name?" And she goes, Natasha Romanoff." He goes, "Get out of here, Natasha. I don't ever want to see you again. Go before I change my mind." She gets up, runs away. That's a callback to the Avengers when she told Loki about how Barton was sent to kill her and he made a different call. She wakes up from that flashback, finishing her shower. She comes out the shower and she's checking her guns. She's packing a go bag. And as she's packing her go bag, bullets start raining through the windows. She grabs the bag, hits the ground, and starts crawling around. And she's like, "What the fuck? How did they figure out where I was? How did they know?" And so the whole place is getting shot up. She crawls towards the back. She makes it out the back door. When she gets out the back door, there's a soldier out there waiting on her. She fights with him, disarms him, tossing his gun to the side. She goes to take his sidearm to shoot him. When she takes his sidearm, another soldier shows up and shoots his assault rifle at her. She ducks down, takes off running. Now at this point, she's thinking, okay, I gotta get away from them. How do they keep finding me? And so she's like trying to feel on her arm to see if she's got like a tracking device under her skin that she didn't know about. And she's pinching, can't find it. Pinch the other arm, can't find it. And she's like, how do they constantly know where I am? She keeps going, and then we then see a chick. Well, we don't know it's a chick. We see a person dressed in all black, riding on a motorcycle with a motorcycle helmet on. This person revs the motorcycle up, comes riding past her, hits her with this staff, like this metal staff. Hits her in the back. Natasha drops. Her and the person get into a fight. One of the soldiers hears the commotion and goes running. when he sees the two of them fighting, he starts shooting. He doesn't know which one is which, so he's just shooting at both of them. So the person that was riding the motorcycle jumps back on their motorcycle, spins out, and goes to take off. Natasha grabs hold of this person and jumps on the back of the motorcycle. So now the person riding the motorcycle is sitting there trying to ride it while at the same time trying to fight Natasha off to get her off the back of the motorcycle. They continue to kind of tussle while riding this motorcycle. This would be the cool visual. The two of them riding the motorcycle while fighting each other until they spin the motorcycle out. The motorcycle slides away from them. They crash, and the two of them get up and they go into a fighting stance. Only thing is they have the same fighting stance. Now, people are automatically gonna think, oh, well, that has to be Taskmaster. But it's not. I'm not putting Taskmaster in this movie. I will put Taskmaster in, let's say, the Hawkeye series. Because I feel like Taskmaster would be a better villain for Hawkeye than for Natasha. So, the Natasha and this biker square off, but they got the same fighting stance. And Natasha kind of looks confused. And she's like, who are you? Person doesn't respond. The biker comes running up and just starts attacking Natasha. Natasha's blocking and fending off the biker, but she's still trying to figure out who this person is. Can't figure it out. Natasha gets away from the person on the bike. She gets away from the bike. Takes off running. And she finds her way to another SHIELD safe house. Right? And so she's trying to patch herself up, because come to find out, she took a bullet when one of them soldiers was shooting at her. So now you got her, she's bruised up from the motorcycle crash, she's bruised up from the fight, she got a bullet from being shot at, and never once in this movie has anybody talked about how badass she is. I'm just giving you badass shit for her to do. So, after patching herself up, she lays on this couch. She's drinking vodka, right? And she sits on the couch and she's trying to think, how do they keep finding me? How does this person know my fighting style? And so she starts drinking more and more until she passes out. And when she passes out, she has another flashback. This time, the flashback is when she was a kid. Her and Yelena are practicing with their father, Alexei, who is teaching them martial arts and how to fight. You know what I'm saying? And he's pretty much teaching them the basics. But the key point of this flashback is the fighting stance. Because they didn't show her that fighting stance in the Red Room. They showed her how to do a lot of other stuff, how to be a spy, pretty much how to fight better than Alexei taught her. But we do get this scene where Alexei is teaching his daughters how to defend themselves. And what he's telling them is that there's gonna come a time I won't be here to protect you. I need to make sure that you can protect yourselves. So, I'm gonna have the two of you train. And so he lines them up and he makes them face each other. So you two face each other. Now, fighting stance. And when they do it, they both go into the same fighting stance. And that's when Natasha is awoken by somebody trying to break into the safe house. She hears the knob turning, she hears the keyhole being fluttered with. She grabs her gun and she finds somewhere in the house. She finds somewhere in the house to hide. And she's ducked down, leaning up against the cabinet in the kitchen. And what we see is the biker. This biker has an assault rifle with a beam on it. And you see the red beam swinging, right? Back and forth as she's scanning the whole room. That's when the biker sees the vodka bottle and the shot glass. And as soon as the biker goes to turn to look the other way towards the kitchen, Natasha hops over the counter, puts the gun in her face, or in the biker's face, cocks it and goes, "Who are you? How do you keep finding me? And how do you know my fighting style?" The biker removes the helmet. And that's when we see it's Yelena. And Yelena goes, "I'm here to take you in." Natasha she's dumbfounded, like, "I thought you were dead. They told me you died on a mission." Yelena don't want to hear that shit. Again, she goes right into attacking Natasha. Natasha's trying to defend herself, but Yelena, she's not thinking of Natasha as her sister. She's thinking of Natasha as a target. Yelena finally beats Natasha, holds her down, and then she hits her comms and says, "Target acquired." When she says that, we get 4 of the Black Widows that come walking through the door, gunned up with assault rifles, and then Dreykov comes in right behind them. And that's when Natasha freaks. We go back into the original flashback of when she blew up Dreykov's office. Pardon me. And Dreykov says, "Yeah, you killed my daughter." And she was like, but you, how did you escape? How did you escape the blast? He said, "I was never there to begin with. I knew you couldn't be trusted, so I sent a proxy in my place." He was like, "And ever since you've killed my daughter and abandoned your own sister, I've taken her under my wing and I've treated her like she was my own. She is my greatest project, the leader of the Black Widows. And she's here to kill you." And that's when Natasha goes, I'm not gonna fight my sister. And Yelena says, that's great, because I have no sister. And so Yelena's getting ready to fire off on Natasha. We see a shield come flying through the window. Again, it's aimed at Dreykov, but one of his widows takes it. Boom, she gets hit in the chest, but the force is so strong, it fucking stops her heart. She's dead. Dreykov tells Yelena, we need to go. Let's go. And Yelena's like, but I can kill her. And he says, no, it's too risky. Come back. Yelena gets pissed off. So she leaves begrudgingly. The next scene we get is Dreykov, his 3 remaining widows, plus Yelena. They get into a big ass black government van. Who's inside the government van, you ask? General Ross. General Ross goes, what happened? Dreykov looks up and says, she has help. Ross is like, I don't give a damn. I told you to capture her. And Yelena looks up at him and goes, that was never the plan. And so Ross is like, what do you mean that was never the plan? That was always the plan. And Yelena was like, no, I was gonna kill her. And Ross is like, no, we don't want her dead. She's an asset. We want her back. And Yelena is like, she's not an asset to me. General Ross looks at Dreykov and says, control your soldier. And Dreykov says, she's more than that to me. She's family. But I understand your point. He puts his hand on Yelena's shoulder and says, it's okay. It's okay. Yelena, again, begrudgingly kind of stands down, but she still has this attitude like, man, fuck that nigga Ross. So, after that, we cut back to the safe house. And it's Alexei. He comes walking in, and like I said, you can hear him stepping on the glass. He's looking around. He doesn't say it out loud. He kind of whispers because he doesn't know if there's any more widows still in the building or still in the safe house. And he, Tasha. And she's on the floor crying when she hears somebody whisper her name. Tasha. Oh, where are you? And so she kind of rolls around and she starts to pull herself up from where she was hiding at. And she looks and she sees Alexei decked out in his red Guardian gear. And she goes, Alexei? And Tasha, my baby! And he's all lovey-dovey and huggy with her. Oh, I'm so glad you're still alive. I thought they got you. Blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, it was Yelena. And he, what? Yelena. She's being controlled by Dreykov. Dad, we gotta free her. And so Alexei goes, hey, it was hard enough trying to catch up and keep up with you. He's like, now you want me to try to keep up with your sister too? Oh, boy. Okay. He was like, can you stand? Can you walk? And she's, yeah. Alright, cool. Let's go. And she's like, go where? And Alexi just starts laughing. He takes her back to, wait for it, SHIELD headquarters. And as they're pulling up, she starts freaking out. Dad, we can't be here. They're looking for me. They want to arrest me. And Alexi goes, nonsense. I'm not taking you to the government. I'm taking you to a friend. They walk inside. Who's waiting on them? Fury. When Natasha sees Fury, she's a ball of tears. Because that was like her second father, her surrogate father. And so she's telling him everything about what's been going on as far as Ross. Well, he knows about Ross chasing him. But she tells him that Ross has been working with General Dreykov and using the Black Widows as his own personal assassin group. Pretty much, he's paying Dreykov to allow him to use the Black Widows as pretty much like Black Ops. So when Fury learns about this, he's like, alright, there's a way to stop Dreykov. Well, there's a way to stop Ross and get him away from Dreykov. And that's when Natasha says, but they have my sister. And as she's talking to him about that, Melina, the person who was supposed to be running the Red Room, the face of the Red Room, is actually working for SHIELD. And Melina comes in and she's telling Fury, okay, we got the specs for the next deployment and this and the third. And then when Natasha sees Melina, she's speechless. She goes, you did this. You gave Dreykov the controls over all of the widows. And that's when Melina tells her this. Well, no, not Melina. Fury tells her the story. Melina is trying to plead her case. She's like, Natasha, you don't understand. And Natasha, shut up. I don't want to hear it. You're a liar. Alexi is like, no, Tasha, please listen. And she's like, you too? The two of you make me sick. I don't ever want to see you again. And she storms out. Fury goes, I got her. Fury finds where she is. She's getting ready to go get on, like she's in one of the Quinjets. And she's setting it up so that she could take off. Fury gets on the Quinjet and sits in the seat next to her. And goes, so where are we going? And she's like, no, you need to stay here. They need you here at the helm, running things. And he's like, Maria Hill can take it. Like, she can handle it. But you, what do you need? And Natasha's like, what do you mean, what do I need? He's like, look, I understand you want to save your sister. I understand that you think that your mother is to blame for everything. He's like, but what if I told you your mother was actually Dreykov's first victim? And she goes, what do you mean? And he starts to tell her a story, but as he's telling her a story, we go into a flashback. The flashback is of a young Melina working with Dreykov to come up with the serum to nullify a person's free will. The same way they talked about in the real movie where Melina said they found the gland in your brain that controls free will, and they were able to nullify it. Well, once they find this in their research, Dreykov says we need to test it. He calls for one of his widows, and Melina says no. If we're gonna test it, we're gonna test it on me. We will test it on myself first. This way, if anything goes wrong, I'm the only person who gets affected. Well, it doesn't go wrong. It actually goes right. Goes a little too right. Pretty much, it not only nullifies her free will, it makes it so not only is she a puppet, but she can only be puppeted by Dreykov. No one else can enact on this chemical subjugation, at least not the first trial of it. So, after going through a series of tests with Melina, Dreykov finally goes, okay, we're done. He ends the test and wakes Melina up out of her trance. And Melina is like, what just happened? Did it work? And Dreykov said, yes, it did work. It worked very well. Matter of fact, so much so, we need to get started on making more. And that's when we come back to Fury and Natasha sitting in the Quinjet. And Natasha shuts everything down. And she goes, I had no idea. Fury said, yeah, your mother didn't want to tell you that because she was afraid that you were going to try to take revenge. That's why she never told you. And so Natasha's like, okay, but we have to get my sister back. There has to be a way that we can save Yelena and possibly undo everything that Dreykov was doing. There has to be some kind of anti-serum. And Fury goes, oh, there is. And Melina found it. So the two of them go back into the headquarters and they sit down at the table. Natasha apologizes to Melina. And Melina, like any mother, is accepted. And she, my sweet girl, you don't have to apologize. You had no idea. I don't blame you. And so Alexei, being the big sappy guy he is, he starts crying a little bit. And he goes, my family back together. And then they all hug. And then Natasha goes, well, the whole family isn't back together. He said, yes, we go get Yelena. So that's when Natasha says, how can we catch, or how can we stop Dreykov if no one knows where the Red Room is? That's when Fury says, oh, who said no one knows where it is? And she's like, last time I checked, they said the Red Room was shut down, so no one could possibly know where it is. That's when Maria Hill comes walking in. The Red Room is, she pulls up something on the computer and puts it up on the big screen. She was like, the Red Room is actually a floating base in the sky. It orbits, well, not orbits, but it stays afloat for at least 3 months. It only docks back on Earth to refuel. And then it's back in the air for another 3 months. It only docks for 24 hours. Okay, because that's how long it takes to fuel up that big ass space station. So Natasha's like, well, how do you know that? And Maria Hill is like, I've seen it for myself. And Natasha's like, how did you see it for yourself? That's when Fury says, yeah, I had Maria Hill go undercover as a Black Widow about 3 years ago. She's been reporting on Dreykov this whole time because I had a feeling that he was going to use the widows as a weapon against the rest of the world. Now that he's teamed up with General Ross, Dreykov has the backing of the US military. We can't have this. So, Natasha, Melina, and Alexei all suit up to go save Yelena. They take a Quinjet above the clouds, get to the Red Room. Maria Hill tells them, hey, we gotta be quick about this. She tells them the plan is, Natasha, you find Yelena. Melina, you work on trying to turn the engines off on the Red Room. She looks at Alexei and goes, just do whatever you do. And Alexei goes, it is time to crash. And she goes, yeah, I guess so. And they get there, and you have, the first thing you see is Alexei. When they land on the space station, you see male guards come out with their guns and shit, and the Black Widows are not too far behind. Alexei takes his shield and says, eat your heart out, Captain America. Throws the shield in front of him and starts running and just charges through all of the soldiers. While he's doing that, creating pretty much a distraction, getting everybody to draw to him. He's fighting off the soldiers and some of the widows. Melina and Natasha sneak in through another entrance that's unguarded. When they come in, Melina tells Natasha, okay, let's make this quick. Find your sister and let's get out of here. And so Natasha's like, I got it. as they're going through their missions, Melina finds the engine room and she starts going through the process of shutting down the engines. Natasha's walking through the detention wing, looking to see if she can find where they have Yelena. She runs into a group of Black Widows. And Natasha's like, look, I don't want to hurt you. I'm just looking for my sister. And that's when, over the intercom, you hear Dreykov's voice. Do not let her through. Kill Natasha Romanoff. They all go into their robotic modes, into their fighting stance, and they all come at her. They rush her. So now she has to fight off, like, let's say 5 of the elite Black Widows. And she's doing a good job fending them off at first, but then the numbers game starts to take over. It's 5 of them and 1 of her. And they start beating her the fuck up, and just when it looks like they got her beat down, they pick her up, and right before they deliver the finishing blow, you hear Dreykov's voice over the intercom. Wait. Bring her to me. So they drag Natasha into the office where Dreykov is sitting. He's sitting at his desk, and in a chair across the room is Yelena. They bring Natasha in. Natasha looks up. She sees Yelena. And Yelena looks down at her and kind of scoffs like, you piece of shit. So Natasha tries to mumble out, Mom's alive. And she's here. And Yelena's like, shut up. Mom died. Dad died. You left. I have no family. The only family that I have is Dreykov. And then you hear Alexei's voice. That's not true. Papa is here. And Yelena looks, no, this is a trick. This is a trick. Alexei died. Alexei takes off his helmet. I can assure you, I did not die. And so, Melina is almost done shutting down the engines when she gets caught by a couple of armed guards, male armed guards, and they hold her at gunpoint and they walk her up to Dreykov's office. And so, when they walk her in, Yelena looks at Melina and she's dumbfounded, like, what the fuck? She looks at Dreykov, you told me they were dead. And Natasha goes, yeah, he's lying to you. He's been lying to you since day one. He was the one that sent the assassin to kill Alexei. He was the one who brainwashed Melina and had her working for him. Until Fury was able to get her away from Dreykov. And slowly he gained her trust and helped her find an antidote to the serum. Melina can free you. Natasha looks around at all the Black Widows. She goes, we can free all of you. We just gotta stop him first. Dreykov kind of laughs like, stop me. I control them. They can't stop me. It's against their DNA. It goes against their DNA for them to try and stop me. He was like, you can't stop me. And that's when Alexei goes, but I can. And now we get a fight between Alexei and Dreykov. Alexei runs at him. Boom, shoulder tackles him over the desk. They start fighting. One of the widows tries to attack Natasha. Melina starts to fight them off. And the whole time, Natasha's trying to talk to Yelena. Help us. Help us fight the real enemy. Help us take down Dreykov. And Yelena is just looking like, this can't be, it can't be real. I don't believe this. She looks over at Dreykov, who's fighting with Alexei. She looks at the widows fighting with Melina. And then Yelena goes into a flashback. She goes into a flashback of the four of them at like a park. And Melina has a picnic basket and she's setting up this picnic, and Alexei has like a frisbee and he's throwing the frisbee with Natasha, and they all look over at Yelena and they say, Yelena, come on, don't you want to come play with us? And then she snaps out of that, and right before one of the armed guards goes to knock out Natasha, Yelena hits the armed guard. She starts fighting that nigga. And then she goes, don't touch my sister. She starts fighting the armed guards. Natasha gets up. She helps Yelena fight off some of the armed guards. So now we get to a point where Alexei has driven Dreykov to an outside balcony, right? And so Dreykov is pleading for his life, begging for his life, telling Alexei, please don't kill me, don't kill me. And Alexei kind of pauses for a minute and goes, you were my friend. I trusted you. How could you do this to my family? And Dreykov says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And Alexei goes, it's too late for sorries. Dreykov says, I wasn't saying sorry for that. Stabs Alexei in like the gut, well not the gut, in the liver. And Alexei is like, oh, what the hell? Natasha comes running out, kicks Dreykov over the balcony. He starts falling to his death. That's when the space station goes into full shutdown mode, because we totally forgot Melina had already started the process of shutting down the engines. It was still running on like 1 or 2 engines when they caught her. So those engines were working overtime to keep this shit in the air. They blew. So now that shit is in a free fall. Kind of like what happened in the movie. Only thing is, the whole shit ain't blowing up into bits and pieces. It's a space station that's in free fall. And so Melina is like, damn, we need to find a way to get the engines turned back on. This way we can guide the space station down so it does not crash and burn. And so she says, I'll go back to the controls and see if I can do that. The 3 of you get ready to jump. Find parachutes. Find parachutes and get ready to jump. Pardon. So the 3 of them go looking through the space station for where the safety equipment is. Or I should say the jumping equipment. Melina is trying to turn the engines back on. But it's like every time she gets 1 or 2 engines turned back on, they tap out. Because again, the space station is already in free fall. The red room is already in free fall. And she can't get the engines turned back on fast enough. And so it's like, now it's a race against time. And so Alexei, Yelena, and Natasha are all waiting at the hangar, right? And so Alexei taps his comm and he's like, anytime, my love. And so Melina is like, I'm sorry, but I can't get this to work. Go ahead without me. And so Alexei is like, no, that wasn't the plan. The plan was you turn all the engines back on, you meet up with us, and we leave together as a family. And Melina is like, damn it, Alexei, I don't have time to argue. I cannot get these engines running fast enough. Take the girls and get to safety. And so Natasha looks at Alexei like, you're not gonna leave her here, are you? And Alexei is like, you heard your mother, let's go. So they're strapping on their parachutes and Yelena is like, no, this is bullshit. I'm going back to save mom. And so Alexei grabs her and says, if you go back to save your mother and you die, then this whole mission was for nothing. We came here to get you. She's like, yeah, but mom's gonna die. And Alexei said, your mother is not gonna die. He straps on, he takes his parachute off. He puts it on Yelena, buckles it. He straps it in good. He looks at Natasha, take your sister and go. And Natasha's like, what are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna go get your mother. Natasha tells Yelena, come on. Yelena's like, no, I'm not leaving without mom. Natasha grabs Yelena by the straps on the parachute and jumps out the space station. And the whole way down, Yelena is, no, mom, no. And so Alexei is now running through this space station trying to figure out where the engine room is. And at the same time, Melina is still trying to get these engines turned back on. They're not all turning back on at once. But each one that comes on, it kind of cuts the momentum of the space station as it's going down. Alexei finally finds the engine room, and Melina is turning on the last engine. And again, that one taps out. And she goes, "This would be a really cool way to die." And then Alexei says, "Yeah, too bad you're not dying today." And Melina turns around and goes, "I thought I told you to take the girls and get out of here." He said, "Yeah, well, they got out of here. I'm not leaving without you." And Alexei, there's no way off this space. This space station is gonna crash. And he says, "Yeah, but we don't have to be here when it does. I have one more parachute." She's like, "But it's two of us." He said, "Yeah, so hold on to me." She hugs him. He buckles in the parachute. They find the nearest hangar. And he says, "I hope you holding on tight. Do not let me go." She hugs him with the tightest grip. He jumps out of the hangar as the space station continues to fall. We then cut to Yelena and Natasha landing safely, unbuckling the straps of the parachutes. Yelena is crying, and Natasha is trying to console her. She's like, "Hey, it's okay, we're safe." And Yelena pushes her, like, "Damn it, Mom and Dad was still on that space station." And Natasha's like, "I know." She was like, "They're dead now." And Natasha's, "Hey, we still got each other, and we still got S.H.I.E.L.D. That's when you start to see the government trucks pull up. Natasha looks around and goes, "Fuck." As that's happening, General Ross is like, "Natasha Romanoff, you are under arrest." Alexei and Melina land down right in front of them, and the parachute covers over the top of them. General Ross goes, "Hurry up, goddammit, go catch them, hurry up. They run over there, and Alexei is fumbling with the parachute, trying to get the parachute off. He unbuckles it, he comes up out of there. They grab him, they throw him on the ground. He's like, hey, what did I do? They tase him, they put handcuffs on him. Melina comes out with her hands up. Okay, I'm not resisting. She gets down, she lays down, they put handcuffs on her. She's laying down face first, laying next to Alexei. The last person, they run over and they think they got the last person. It's Yelena. And Yelena's like, "Oh, damn it, what the hell, man?" They all point the guns at her. She, okay. She lays down on the ground next to Melina. They put handcuffs on Yelena. And Yelena looks over at Alexei, then looks at Melina. Melina looks at Yelena, then at Alexei. Alexei starts laughing. And then Yelena is trying to hold in her laughter but can't. She's like, "God damn it, Dad." She starts laughing. So then Melina goes, "What? What's so funny?" And then you hear one of the soldiers goes, "It's empty." And Ross goes, "What do you mean it's empty? She's not here. Romanov is not here." And Melina said, "Well, where the hell did she go?" And again, Yelena and Alexei are just cracking up laughing. So General Ross walks over and goes, "The hell's so funny?" And he goes, "My daughter is an Avenger. Did you really think you would catch her?" The next scene we cut to a scene of Natasha laying on the back seat of an SUV with a blanket over her head. She pulls the blanket off. She sits up in the back seat and goes, "Thanks, I really needed that." Fury is driving the car and says, "I can't help you more than this. I'll do what I can, but stay off the radar." He pulls off into this abandoned warehouse. He parks. He gets out the car and he walks out of the warehouse. Next thing we see Natasha Natasha in a disguise, getting onto a train. And the train says Budapest. The train pulls off. The credits roll. Now, since it's Marvel, I'm gonna give you a stinger. But this stinger is not gonna be for Black Widow. It's gonna be for Hawkeye. Now, with everything going on with Yelena and Natasha and their family, we see Barton and them get freed at the end of Captain America Civil War. Cap frees all of them at the end. So, we see Barton spending family time with his wife and his kids. And then, in the distance, we see a figure, a hooded figure wearing a helmet. Barton looks up, and when he sees who it is, because Taskmaster is here to catch Ronin. When Barton sees Taskmaster, he tells his family, he's like, "Hey, why don't we pack it up? Let's get ready to head home. I'm gonna go make a call real quick. I'll be right back." He leaves. We then see Taskmaster walk off from where he is. And yes, we're gonna make Taskmaster a man because he was originally a man. So, Taskmaster sees where Barton is. Barton goes, "How'd you find me?" Taskmaster doesn't say nothing. We get a point of view we get a shot from Taskmaster's point of view through his helmet, where he's scanning Clint Barton. And he recognizes Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, aka Ronin. And then it says target, and then it starts blinking. And that's the last thing we see. So, this has been a fun deal, but that was last minute rewrites for Black Widow. I hope you enjoyed my retelling of the story. If you like that, I have other last minute rewrites There's Thor and the Enchantress. There's Mortal Kombat. The one I just did, Mortal Kombat. I just finished up with Mortal Kombat. When I just finished up with it, but I just put the final part because that one was so long. I had to break it down into 3 parts. I finally put the 3rd part on there on the Anime and Chill page on YouTube. So you can go ahead and check that out. Yeah, man, some of the other last minute rewrites are within the Anime and Chill episodes. I think at some point I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna clip those and make it its own, you know what I mean, its own clip, and throw it into the playlist called Storytime. So if you want to see or hear any of my last minute rewrites, they're going to be under the playlist Storytime, along with the WWE fantasy booking, which I haven't really done any good fantasy booking lately, but if I do, it's going to be fantasy booking the four horsewomen storyline, and that would be like a year-long storyline that I would want to run, but that's for another episode. So before I get up out of here, I need you to do me a huge favor. I need you to go ahead and hit that like button, and then I'm gonna need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Share this video with your friends, man. Turn on the notification bell so you could know anytime I put up a new video. I'm not as consistent as I want to be with it, but I'm gonna try to get better with that moving forward. So, hope you have fun. You know what time it is. Time to kick up your feet, grab your favorite person, throw on your favorite tunes. It's time to Anime and Chill. Peace.
Dynamic entrance kicking in the door like that. Turn up to the max, shooting energy up to the sky. Tap into the station 935, it's time to ride. Swooshy color backgrounds just to let you know we fly. Undefeated, never beaten, cause we got the skills. Striking all this black gold, you would think we had a drill. We got what you need, homie, so come and get your fill. Relax and unwind, it's time to Anime and Chill. It's time to Anime and Chill. Relax and unwind, it's time to Anime and Chill.